Call the meeting to order. Ooh, that's a strong mic. This is the December 12, 2017 meeting of the Town Plan and Zoning Commission for the Town of Fairfield. The first order of business are Bills and Communications, meeting minutes from November 14, 2017. So actually before that, I'd like to welcome all of the new members to the Commission. Give me a few times to learn everybody's names by face. But welcome, thanks very much for your participation, really appreciate it. So does everybody have a copy of the meeting minutes? I think we need to take a roll for voting purposes, right? We just have a show of hands. Did everybody watch the tape from the last meeting? New commissioners? Yeah. Regular? You were there? Mr. Levy? No. Okay. You're good?
Yes.
You're good? So we need one. So Commissioner DiGiacomo is up to speed. He's going to be sitting in for Commissioner Levy. Okay? So you're voting on
the minutes?
On the minutes, correct. All right. And so for Commissioners Elliott and Gordon, the way the alternate system works is that where we either have an absence during a meeting, or if, like tonight, we have a commissioner that was absent at another meeting and it didn't get up to speed on an item, we call upon the alternates to sit in their place for any particular item or for an entire evening. And we generally just rotate that around so that everybody gets an opportunity to participate when needed. But there may be some meetings at which you are here and don't participate in anything. You know, it's just part of the alternate position. Okay. Does anyone have any comments or changes, corrections to the minutes?
I was at the meeting. I didn't watch it on tape. I was there.
That's just as good. That's even better. Even better.
New members, the microphones are there so we can hear you.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Okay.
I
Any
move that
comments?
we accept the minutes.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Corcoran. Second by Commissioner McAleese. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The minutes are adopted unanimously. Next item is the organizational meeting, the election of officers. They have three: the chairman, vice chairman, and the secretary. And so the first is to nominate the chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate you, Matt Wagner, to continue as chairman. There's a lot of work involved with the commission, but particularly for the chairman, and I think you've been doing this for 4 years and have the experience and expertise I think we need to continue.
I'll second.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Corcoran moved to nominate me for chairman, seconded by Commissioner Noonan. So I'll just say thank you. I appreciate it. I mean, it's been an honor to serve, and if everybody would like me to continue in that role for another year, I'm happy to do it. Does anyone else have any other comments? Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. The motion passes unanimously. Next is nominations for vice chairman, and I would like to nominate Commissioner Corcoran. He has been dutifully participating in our meetings for a long time and has become pretty actively involved.
Second.
Okay. Nomination for Commissioner Corcoran by Wagner and seconded by Commissioner Noonan. Any comments?
Nothing more than what you said.
Okay. Anyone else? All right. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Commissioner Corcoran is unanimously voted vice chair. Next is nominations for secretary. Anyone?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Commissioner Corcoran.
I'd like to nominate Chris McAleese as secretary.
Okay. Nomination for Commissioner McAleese as secretary. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Noonan. Any Comments? No? Very good. Well, I think that Commissioner McAleese has been done a fine job here as a commissioner, and I support his nomination as secretary. You know, you got to sign things, right?
That's right, yep.
Okay. All right. Very good.
Luckily, I work right near town hall, so.
No, fantastic. Perfect. All right, any further comments? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? Commissioner McAleese is hereby unanimously elected the secretary. Yes. The changing of the guards. We have the feather caps in the back room. Very good. Thank you, everyone. Next is 2500 Hillside Road, request to provide a payment in lieu of open space.
Nope, schedule meetings, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, schedule of meetings, sorry. Yep. Thank you. Everybody should have in their packet proposed meeting schedule for 2018. Let's have a motion for discussion. I'd like to talk about a couple of dates.
I move that we
Okay.
accept this schedule.
Motion by Commissioner Corcoran, second. Second by Commissioner Francis. Thank you. So there are a couple things I'd like to talk about. You move. Do you have any comments?
No.
All right. So I have three conflicts with the proposed dates: January 30th, March 13th, and April 24th. I understand from Mr. Wendt that there's an opportunity to reschedule the January 23rd meeting to the 30th, but not March 13 and April 24. So I would ask that the move-ins modify their motion to move the January 23rd meeting to the 30th. I don't know how everybody else feels about that.
That's okay with me. On the other meetings, are you saying we can't move them?
Well, there's not an opportunity in town.
Yeah, if I may, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
January, there's 5 Tuesdays in January, so by moving the meeting from the 23rd to the 30th, we're not setting up a back-to-back. We theoretically could. We did so in a couple of times this year to have, if we move those 2 dates, you'd end up with meetings on consecutive Tuesdays, which isn't the end of the world, but from an administrative standpoint, particularly with legal notice publication, it's challenging for us because we're taking a leap of faith that the business that we're going to publish for that subsequent meeting, that we're not going to have to continue anything from the previous meeting, so it's a little tight for us. Not impossible to accomplish, but from a staff perspective, it would be our preference to keep the meetings where they are.
Right.
But it's not an issue for the January month.
And I just...
Move it backwards to April 3rd, or does that?
Well, it creates the same issue because you've got another meeting on the 10th of April, so you'd have back-to-back. So
No, we're going to move the 10th back to the 3rd.
Oh, well, then you'd be back-to-back with the 27th of March and the 3rd. So, again, we can, if it's your inclination to do so, we could have back-to-back weeks. We did that a couple of times. This particular calendar year, it's just creates some challenges on our end, but not insurmountable.
So I would just add one other thing that that does provide an opportunity for newly elected Mr. Vice Chair to get some experience
And that's why you're not coming?
running a meeting. So it's like Mr. Wendt said, it's not the end of the world. I just wanted to let everybody know, and that there was an opportunity to reschedule the 23rd January, if that is convenient for everybody. So, if that works...
I can
then
amend
you
my
wanna-
motion to change the January 23rd to the 30th.
Okay, so accepted modification, and I think Commissioner Francis, that was you with the second?
Yes.
Okay, Commissioner Francis agrees. Any other comments on that? Okay. So the motion is to approve the schedule with one change from January 23rd to the 30th. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? All right, the meeting is, schedule is adopted unanimously. All right, now 2500 Hillside Road, request to provide payment in lieu of open space on an approved subdivision. Mr. Wendt.
Okay, there was quite a bit of material in your packet for this particular matter. This property is a 17.78 acre piece that was approved for a two-lot subdivision in November of 2013. The lot yield was limited to 2 lots because there's extensive wetlands on this property. Any subdivision greater than 4 acres or creating 5 or more lots pursuant to our subdivision regulations is required to provide 10% of the area of the land, at least 10% as open space, or pay a fee in lieu thereof. The initial plan for this development was to have 2 pieces of open space that total about 9 acres set up. In the original approval, anticipated a conveyance to the Audubon Society, which is one of the approved methods of disposition of the open space. It's been a number of years, obviously, since that has happened, and Audubon has changed their position. They initially were interested. They are no longer interested in it. The current ownership group pursued town ownership. There are minutes in your packet from the Conservation Commission that they reviewed it and didn't find that it had great access or worthy of town ownership. So the third possibility for disposition of open space is for the applicant to pay a fee in lieu of providing the open space, which is equal to 10% of the pre-subdivision value of the property. That, in this case, again, there's a memo from the time, or an email from the time that this application was heard, that pre-subdivision value was $836,200. Therefore, the payment that would be forthcoming would be $83,620. I provided you the maps. From our perspective, this is kind of the best of both worlds situation, because what would have been the open space parcels are completely encumbered by conservation easements. So they will be privately owned, but visually it's going to behave like private open space. They're restricted. They can't develop or disturb those properties. And in addition to that, we would be getting, on the sale of these 2 lots, be getting a payment of $83,000 and change that will go into the town's open space fund. So from our view, it's kind of a win-win situation. We get a conservation easement, and it will look as it's a private open space, and at the same time get a chunk of money into our open space fund.
Very good. Thank you very much. So this is all regular commissioners.
That's correct.
New item. Okay. And so with the way this typically works, this is our first executive item for the new members. Mr. Wendt gives a summary, and then we entertain a motion to approve, disapprove, to deny rather, or to table in appropriate circumstances. So, can I have a motion?
So I move to approve this for discussion purposes.
Okay. Motion to approve by Commissioner Corcoran.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Noonan. Commissioner Corcoran, any comments?
I have a question. With the conservation easement, will the property be open to the public?
It will not. It'll be privately owned, but restricted, so that even those owners cannot disturb the property. They can remove fallen trees, but they can't go in there and excavate. They can't cut down trees. They can't remove stone walls. So it's basically going to be maintained as an as-is condition.
Right. So even though they're willing to give the land, the fact that the Audubon and the town will not accept it stops them from creating open space under our regulations?
There are 3 ways to deal with the open space. One is...
Sorry.
One would be a deed to the town. If it's, in some cases, if it's adjacent to existing town open space, or is a large enough piece to stand on its own as a viable piece of open space, has good access. This piece, it's very wet. There's not real great, if the public were to access it, there wouldn't be a lot. You'd need, in most conditions, hip waders to, it's a very, very wet piece of property. So the public access isn't great. It's not suitable to establish hiking trails or anything like that. So that's why the town looked at it and didn't think it was worth accepting.
You started to say there's a third way you could create.
Yeah, there's town acceptance by the town, acceptance by a private nonprofit, open space provider like an Audubon or an Aspetuck Land Trust or something of that nature. And the third option is to pay a fee.
Oh, I see. Okay, so that's not really creating the space.
Right, right. I'm sorry.
Question, another question for staff.
Commissioner
Thank you. It seems like the fee may be almost their last, only the last option that's available to them.
I'm sorry, there's a third, I'm sorry, I missed it. The third option is an association of homeowners. They can create it as private open space. It's owned jointly by an association of homeowners. That's typically more commonly done when there's a larger number of lots where they create a chunk of open space within the subdivision that's open to those members, not to the public generally. So that there is a third option there. But the other option is if the open space to be generated isn't a large enough piece on its own to be viable or have any real value as open space, or then the payment in lieu is the typical option.
Okay. So it sounds like nonprofit or town is not willing to take it over at this point.
Correct.
I doubt a homeowners association of 2 homes is going to be viable, though possible.
They examined that possibility and thought that they'd rather pay the
Okay.
pay the
So I
fee.
mean, the thought I had was, it seems like we almost have to let them pay, or they can't do anything. If we deny this and for no fee, then they have to go the homeowners route. They at least have an option to
Correct.
subdivide.
They could, yes,
Okay.
they could. But from where I sit, I think it's,
No, I
like I said, it's a
understand.
win-win because it's going to behave like private open space, as if it were owned by a homeowners association, and we also get the fee.
No, I tend to agree. If a town or nonprofit's not going to take it over for open to the public, it's either a fee or open to a homeowners association. And I would say a fee would be better for the town if they're willing to do that.
Yep. Commissioner Francis.
I believe you told us last year, you advised us last year, or was it not? You advised us last year that this money is to be used for either maintenance of open space or further acquisition of town open space.
That's correct.
Am I remembering?
That's
Okay.
correct.
Commissioner Lee.
Is the conservation easement already of record, and has that come from the prior subdivision, or is it
Yes and no. There were substantial conservation easements already on the original subdivision map. They have a map waiting to be recorded that modifies those easements slightly. If you compare the two maps, the boundaries of those easements are modified slightly. So there were substantial easements on the original map.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Commissioner Mackey.
So how does this work for the property owner? They wind up having 3 lots then? Like
No.
a B, an A, and then the conservation, or does each conservation get attached to one of the other 2 lots, or? So if you buy Lot A, do you own Conservation Easement 1, and if you buy Lot B, you own Conservation Easement 5?
If you look at the
Just cracking my back straight.
second map, the map that's labeled proposed,
Uh-huh.
what happens is the 2 lots just become bigger. What were open space parcels now get subsumed by those 2 lots.
Okay.
So Lot A, for example, was originally 3.9 acres. It goes to 11 acres. You can see the boundaries, so that conservation easement A1 will be owned by the owner of Lot A.
Right.
And conservation easement B1 will be owned by the owner of, so that's part of Lot B.
Yeah, rough, yeah.
So,
Okay.
yes, yes.
All right, thank you.
Okay. So I support the application and staff's review. Does anyone else have any other questions or comments? Okay, the motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The application is approved unanimously. Next is 8-12 Bloomfield Drive, request to Phil Cerrone, architect, for 100% release of $59,014 bond pertaining to site improvements in an R3 zone.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, this commission approved a 9-unit set-aside residential development for this site in March of last year. as a set-aside development. Three of the 9 units are deed restricted as affordable units. The bonded improvements were largely for the on-site drainage system, the driveway, and street trees. That work has been done. You have an email in your packet from town engineering staff confirming that the work has been done to their satisfaction, so we're therefore recommending its approval.
Thank you. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Francis.
Second.
Second by Commissioner McAleese. Any comments? We have the confirmation in the file. Go ahead. Commissioner McAleese?
Yes, I drive by there fairly frequently, actually. I think some people were concerned when this first came to us, given the sort of density of that area. But I really commend the architect and the developer. It's really a nice little job. They did a really terrific job for, as much as they were able to cram into that little site. But I'd like to see more like this. I think it's really not bad.
Yeah, one thing I didn't mention is, you may recall that there was some discussion about that adjoining intersection during the course of the hearing. This commission recommended that become a three-way all-stop intersection. That recommendation was forwarded to the police commission, which approved that. And if you've been by there, you'd see that it is now presently a three-way all-stop intersection.
Good. Any other comments on this item? Motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Bond is released unanimously. Next is 1150 Westport Turnpike. Request of Attorney John Fallon for a 90-day extension for filing a final subdivision map. It's the first extension.
Yeah, I don't really have anything here, Mr. Chairman. This is, the subdivisions have 90 days to record a map, or the possibility of two 90-day extensions. And usually the time in there, because of bonding and other issues, it takes some time to get that together for them. So this is their first 90-day request for an extension.
Yep. And this is as of right.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Motion approved by Commissioner McAleese.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Noonan. Any other comments? This is as of
As
right.
of right,
There's nothing
so
we can
sure.
do here. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The extension is granted unanimously.
I have to leave for a second.
Okay. So in his absence then, Commissioner Elliott, is going to sit for Commissioner Corcoran? No, you say where you are. Yeah, very good. So next section is new applications to recommend a public hearing. So those applications that are filed with the office that require a public hearing, like a special exception or a zone change or the like, first come before us in this part of the agenda, where we move them to public hearing. We actually authorize them now. There are some limited circumstances where an application will be filed and a public hearing is required, and it comes to us for this new application to recommend a public hearing. And there's a reason why we deny it. It's very rare, but it happens. Maybe they can't file an application within 1 year from when we denied their prior application or something like that. So it does happen, but infrequently. So the first item is 1-59 Post Road, zone change application of 1 Post Road Fairfield LLC to establish a design commercial district on land presently zoned residency. And unfortunately, Mr. Elliott, Mr. Corcoran has returned.
If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'll just add one more thing to this process. There's nothing that requires this commission to vote to recommend things to hearing. It's just been the long-standing practice of this commission to do so for several reasons. It's kind of gives you folks, as the commissioners, kind of the first notice of applications that have come in, so you kind of have an idea of what's coming down the pike for future review.
And the public.
Yes, and we also have a pretty broad distribution list of our agenda. It's posted online. It also gets the public the first warning that something's been submitted, so they can come in and start reviewing the materials if they are interested. So this first item, 1-59 Post Road. 1 Post Road is an existing office building on the Post Road. It's the first property on the south side of the Post Road as you cross in from Black Rock. It's an existing office building. 59 Post Road is an existing strip retail storefront. The proposal here is to remove the existing 59 building, combine the lots with one post road and build a 20-unit residential building. There is a zone change component to this, which is the first item. Item B, the next item is the companion special permit application for the 20-unit residential development. So it is a proposed zone change and a proposed special permit, so both require a public hearing.
Okay. So we'll take them up individually. First is 1-59 Post Road, item 2A. Can I have a motion?
Motion to move to public hearing?
Motion by Commissioner Noonan,
On the Bridgeport side.
second by Commissioner Corcoran. Any comments?
Yeah.
All in favor signify by saying aye. Oh, okay. Commissioner Corcoran.
So just a quick question. They're asking to establish as a design commercial district. That's necessary to do what they need to do?
The parcel at 59 Post Road is split zone. The front piece, the first 150 feet or so from the street, is presently zoned commercial. It has a commercial building on it. They are looking to demolish that building and use the entirety of that site, merging it with one Post Road, but there's a small piece of the back of that parcel that's presently residentially zoned. So in order to proceed with what they're proposing, they need to propose to change that portion of the property.
So when you say it's currently zoned commercial, part of it, is that the same as design commercial?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. No.
No, you just had to step up.
Yeah, he had to step out. I thought he was
back before
going to
we-
be gone for a little bit, but apparently it was just a text message. So, all right. Any other comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
Seconded, I think.
Moved by Mr. Noonan, seconded by Mr. Corcoran.
Correct. Okay. Any abstentions? Okay. The move to public hearing unanimously. Next is 1-59 Post Road, special permit and coastal site plan application of 1 Post Road Fairfield LLC, pertaining to the construction of a 20-unit residential building in the design commercial district.
I don't have anything further, Mr. Chairman.
Very good.
So,
Can I have a motion for discussion?
Move to public hearing.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Noonan,
second.
second by Commissioner Corcoran. Question?
Question, yes. So this says residential.
Yes.
And so is this, I mean, when we discussed the first one, it was commercial.
Yes. Good question. Our design commercial district regulations permit mixed-use projects that are no greater than 50% commercial, 50% residential. That is what's being proposed here, with the exception that they are on the same site looking to two different buildings. One residential building, one commercial building, compliant with the regulations except for that they are not a single building. So
Is that part of the regulations, that they be a single building?
It is. That's what and we had you may recall a couple of months ago, we had a regulation amendment proposal for the neighborhood design district talking about this issue relative to the Greenfield Hill property that has 2 presently commercial buildings. They were looking to convert a portion of that to residential. This is a similar scenario in that they're proposing another building. That matter was, they took that matter to the Zoning Board of Appeals a couple of months ago to review that and receive a variance for that. So that's going to be part of their presentation when they make that. So yeah, it seems kind of incongruous that they're applying for a zone change to commercial to propose a residential building, but it's going to be a joint project. The argument being it's a mixed use. It'll be a mixed use site with 2 individual buildings.
Can they do the same thing without joining the lots?
No, they could not.
Because then it would not be mixed
Because
use.
then it would be solely residential, there'd be no commercial component.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Move to public hearing unanimously. Next is 1675 Post Road, compliance application of 1695 Post Road Partners LLC pertaining to 12-unit residential and retail building submitted pursuant to Section 830G of the Connecticut General Statutes.
This property is on the corner of the Post Road and Ruane Street. It's a traffic light. Right now it's occupied. It's been there a long time. Commercial insurance building, the Henry Company Insurance. Proposal for an affordable housing application of 12 units, and there is a 1,500-foot retail component on the first floor, so it is a mixed use, but proposal.
Okay, thank you.
I move to public hearing.
Commissioner Corcoran, a motion to move to public hearing by Commissioner Corcoran.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Noonan. Any questions or comments? Yep, Commissioner Corcoran and then Francis.
Yes, I'm curious about the commercial portion of this in an 830G application. Is that part of, is there any regulations on 830G that would allow that?
I've had that discussion with the applicant, and they will provide, as part of their application packet to you, some case law that in their view supports the notion that it's in the ballpark. I have not had the opportunity to review that yet, but that will be part of the grist for the mill in this application.
Okay. Commissioner Francis?
How many stories are they proposing? 4?
5. 4 in the portion of the 5th floor.
And what kind of commercial did they say yet?
Retail, 1,500 square foot, first floor retail.
Is the building on Sherman Street that's quite tall 5 stories?
I believe so.
That office building back there that's...
It's an elevated floor, I believe so.
Yeah, I do too. It's very tall. Okay, thanks.
Okay, very good. We'll get all these details when the application comes before us, right? The public hearing, the applicant will make its presentation, materials. Then, after the public hearing, the next executive session, we then debate all this stuff, and sometimes there's, extensions and things like that, so. Okay, any other comments? Questions? Motion is to move to public hearing. All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? Okay. Move to public hearing unanimously. Next is 65 Station Street, special permit application of SF Station Street LLC pertaining to the construction of a 2-story office building in the neighborhood design district.
This property is adjacent to the Southport train station. There's presently 2 freestanding commercial buildings on it now, red, kind of 1-story structure. They have room in the back to do about a 4,000 square foot proposal for 2-story small scale office proposal. Requires a special permit and a public hearing.
Okay. Can I have a motion?
Move to public hearing.
Motion by Commissioner Noonan, second by Commissioner Corcoran. Okay. Any questions or comments? This is required. It's a special permit application requires a public hearing. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions?
A lot of new stuff in the hopper since we last met.
Yeah, seriously, this is going to be a busy next couple of meetings. Next is 783 Kings Highway, special permit and coastal site plan application of GLMC LLC pertaining to a 9-unit residential building in the design commercial district.
This property is on the corner of Kings Highway and, I want to say, Haley Avenue. There was an insurance or law office, it was a Cape House that was occupied as a law office for years. It's been recently demolished. They're proposing a 9-unit residential building on the property. Does require a public hearing.
Okay. Thank you. Public hearing is required on this. Can I have a motion?
Move to public hearing.
Commissioner Noonan.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Corcoran. Any comments? Questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? It's unanimous. Move to public hearing unanimously. Okay, next is old business, 105 Meadowcroft Road, special exception application of the town of Fairfield pertaining to additions and alterations to the Holland Hill School in an A zone.
Okay. This application was heard at our last meeting. The town of Fairfield is proposing additions and alterations to Holland Hill School. This project will increase the enrollment capacity of that school, will also eliminate the existing portable classrooms that are there. The considerations for approval for special exceptions reside in section 27.4 of our regulations. And they include, is the location, type, character, and size of the use and buildings in harmony with and conform to the appropriate and orderly development of the town and neighborhood, and not hinder or discourage the use of adjacent property or impair its value. Is the nature and location of the use and buildings or structures such that there is adequate access for fire protection? Are the streets serving the proposed use adequate to carry prospective traffic with provision made for entering and leaving the property without creating undue hazard or traffic congestion? And is there adequate provisions for off-street parking? Number 4, has adequate landscaping been provided? Number 5, is the proposed use in compliance with the plan of conservation and development? Obviously, this is an existing educational facility. It's been there for some time. They're looking to upgrade and renovate that. You had a pretty detailed presentation, as you typically have with respect to the phasing plan on how they're going to occupy the building and work through the several phases of construction. So that is all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Very good, thank you. I have a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Noonan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Francis.
You just might, Mr. Chairman, want to just
Yeah,
sort
let's
of for
take
the
a
record
roll.
who's eligible to vote here.
Thank you, I meant to do that. So, just by show of hands, either present at the meeting, last meeting, or listen to the tapes. Regular members? Everyone?
So you would have all regular members.
That's all regular members. Excellent. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Noonan?
Felt it was a good application. No doubt that a lot of people had their hands in it, planning this for being an educational expansion. Felt that it met all 5 of the criteria for special exception. Again, the fact they're expanding on a school, I think it would lend itself to the 5 criteria. So I support the application.
Very good. Commissioner Francis?
Yes. I commend the committee. It's been a difficult planning process, but they did a fine job, and it seems like it will meet all their educational needs and curriculum requirements.
Anyone else have any comments? Yep, Commissioner Levy?
Yeah, actually, drove through the site today, and I don't see that there's any provision for signage. But if there could be a condition that they make it clear where the bus lane is and where the passenger drop-off, it may already be part of their plan. But that would certainly, be helpful for safety purposes.
Right. So, this was part of their presentation about, right, the bus lane on the right side, separated by the median and the short fence, and the cars on the left side of there. So you're saying you didn't see in the plans any signs to demarcate those lanes?
It could just be, they could put it right on the asphalt, bus lane, parent drop-off.
Cars, buses, yeah, okay, all right. Do you have that,
I do, I understand. I just was looking, I thought there was, I don't think it's evident on the site plan, you're right, but I believe the traffic report outlined the proposed signage that they are proposing to distinguish the parent drop-off lane from the
Yeah.
bus lane, so I think that's kind of incorporated in their plan, but we can certainly piggyback that by just saying, provide appropriate directional signage to make that distinction, but I think that's part of their plan.
okay. Well, there's no harm in calling that out to make sure that it's there. So, I think it was Commissioner Noonan, you accept that?
That's fine, yeah.
Yeah. Commissioner Francis, I think you were the second, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, very good.
I mean, I remember the principal being very adamant and confident in how things worked for drop-off and pickup. So, in the sense that if it slipped through the cracks, I'm happy to put that in there.
Okay, very good. Yeah, that we had specific testimony that there were people out there during the times to literally direct the traffic, but I think it's fine to put that in there.
Yeah, we can certainly memorialize that.
All right. Okay, yep. Commissioner Francis.
Tagging on to the signage issue, I hadn't thought about it when the presentation was made, but we discovered it on the way here this evening that it might behoove them to figure out a way to light the actual school sign. Because that's another one of those neighborhoods where the school's kind of buried, nicely tucked in behind the houses, and you can't, it was kind of difficult if you're not used to going to some of these schools around town to find them. So if they could put some sort of subtle little light on the school sign, that would help too.
Okay.
Minor detail, but
Well, I'm wondering if that sign though is in somebody's front yard.
yeah, like this one is. I don't know. If they could address it. I wouldn't want to make it a condition of approval.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I don't think it should
I
be
don't
a
want to hold up the
condition.
job of that. Yeah.
I mean, if it's an issue, you know, we can look at it and
Right.
raise it at some point, but it might be, you know, in somebody's front yard.
Good point, good point.
If I'm not mistaken, again, I don't know this with 100% certainty, but I believe there's a sign at the stop sign that directs you to take that right, because you can't see this school from the
Right.
street. It's in from Meadowbrook Road. So I believe at the stop sign, there's a directional sign that has you turning right at or left at the sign, but again, we can discuss that.
Okay.
Maybe lighting that's needed.
Okay. Yep. I agree that it was a great application, you know, all necessary renovations. I thought the staging plan was really especially good. So I'll support the application with the amendments as moved. Any other questions and comments? Motion is to approve with condition. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? It's approved unanimously. Next is 5151 Park Avenue, special exception application of Sacred Heart University pertaining to a proposed recreational building in the R3 zone.
Okay. This application is proposing construction of a recreational building adjacent to the existing football field up at Sacred Heart University. This commission approved a special exception for a very similar building in June of last year. This current application was for a modified floor plan and changes to the visual design of the building that we felt warranted a revisit, a new modified application of this commission. It was heard the last time. The considerations for approval are the same 5 criteria that I just listed in the last application. If you want me to, I won't unless you want me to read through those again. But it is really a modification to a building that this commission already approved in June of last year. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Very good. Thank you. Can I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve?
Motion to approve by Commissioner McAleese,
Second.
second by Commissioner Noonan. Commissioner McAleese?
You know, yet again, we had a very thorough, terrific presentation from Sacred Heart and the universities in town really do a nice job of being considerate neighbors. We had no qualms approving the previous one. I think they've actually done a nicer job with their modifications, so I have no issues with it.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Noonan, any comment?
Just that we approved this earlier. I don't see any of the changes affecting what we did the last time.
Mr. Wendt, it was the issue of the shade tree and the fire access, if I'm looking at the app to the right side.
The revised fire access along the back may necessitate eliminating one of the trees. I think the architect making the presentation kind of thought that they may have exaggerated the number of trees on their model there, but they'll make sure that they've got adequate fire access as required by the fire chief.
Very good. Any other comments or questions? I also thought this was an excellent presentation. You know, interesting choice. It actually looks quite different.
Yeah.
Different style. But, any other comments? Okay, the motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? It's approved unanimously. Next is compliances. So for the new members, these are applications that are filed which do not require a public hearing and haven't been on a public hearing. These are on our agenda for the first time in the packet for us to consider and debate and vote on. The first is 665 Commerce Drive, compliance application of Nigel Bradley to establish a restaurant use in a portion of an existing building in the design commercial district.
Okay, 665 Commerce Drive is the location of the recently completed 5-story mixed-use building at the intersection of Commerce Drive and Black Rock Turnpike. It's first-story commercial with 4 stories of residential. This would be the first proposed commercial occupancy. When this building was originally approved, it was laid out for office or retail space on that first floor, but it's not surprising to see that they've got a prospective restaurant tenant looking to take that corner space, occupying 4,100 square feet of that first floor. It would have a patron area of approximately 1,700 square feet. There are 187 parking spaces on the site. However, because of the way our regulations compute patron area parking versus retail space, there's an actual shortfall of 28 spaces here that would otherwise be required. That was the subject of a hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals back in October. And in your packet was the narrative that was submitted for that proposal. The board found in favor to grant that variance given the certain economies of scale here, given nearly 200 parking spaces. And I think they indicated that the ownership group owns the two adjacent commercial properties, and they would allow the staff of the restaurant to park there should they find the need to do so. So that was kind of some of the reasoning behind the ZBA variance. Other than that, it's in full compliance with the regulations.
Well, and with that, it is in compliance.
Yeah.
Right, so, very good. Can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Noonan,
Second.
second by Commissioner Corcoran. Commissioner Noonan.
Question for staff, the outdoor dining,
Yes, I'm sorry, I left that out of my
Yeah, I just-
presentation. They are proposing a 150-foot area. Our regulations do allow up to 150 square feet of outdoor dining without the need for additional parking, so that did not factor into their variance application. They do have a detail of a 2.5-foot tall kind of board fence enclosure around that to go along with the motif of their restaurant. So yes, there is a seasonal outdoor dining patio. Would be, should you find in favor of this application, we would recommend that it be in the rotation for annual recertification with all the standard conditions of approval for outdoor seating, that no outdoor music or sound system, that the furniture is removed in the off-season, no additional signage and the like.
do I need to amend my motion for that to get it into the circulation?
In my opinion, no. I left it out of my presentation, but it is part of their applications before you.
It's on the site plan. You know, and looking at this now, I saw it before, but I didn't notice that the fence.
Goes out
or
to the curb.
Yeah, does that go across the sidewalk? And it looks like it also carries over the entry area. Yeah, but still.
No, there's a very broad, it doesn't extend beyond the property line. There is a complete paved plaza, if you will, that extends from that corner face of the building all the way out to the curb. So the sidewalk, the public sidewalk, if you can kind of see the row of planters along Commerce Drive, there's a sidewalk on the street side of that, and there's also pavers on the building side of that. So that kind of behaves as an open plaza. So the public sidewalk would be on the outside of that. And so everything from that, I don't know what plane, that solid line where the drainage is shown there, the line between there and the curb is all presently paved. It's concrete.
Drainage pipes, this not the fence.
I'm sorry, yeah, the line, it is confusing on this particular drawing because there's some underlying drainage that's shown there. Those 3 squares that are connected by
Yeah.
the dark line, or that's all underground. Those are catch basins there, and those lines are underground drainage. I didn't understand.
So the decorative fence is only a couple of feet in the front of the proposed outdoor seating area.
Yeah, yes, it shows up better on the smaller detail sheet. For some reason, the site plan picked up the underground drainage in that location. That makes it a confusing drawing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's a good question. It does show up better in better detail on a smaller sheet.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Commissioner Corcoran.
In terms of the parking, did they get a variance for the parking?
They did.
So we don't need anything in writing about the neighboring properties having additional parking?
No, that was part of their presentation to the board. And in the absence of that approval, you would not be able to, as the chairman said, be in a position to approve it.
I for one, am very happy to see that they have landed a tenant for the anchor spot in this building on the corner, new restaurant. It's really great to see. This is the first building from the commissioners that was built under the Commerce Drive overlay. How occupied is the building now, do you know?
I believe the residential leases are beyond 50% at this point, but this would be the first commercial tenant, first floor.
Terrific. Good. Any other comments, questions?
How many outdoor seats or outdoor tables would there be?
I don't know what our occupancy would be there. That would be set by the fire marshal, but our parking regs are based solely on the square footage. So once we establish the approved square footage, they can arrange their furniture. Years ago, we used to have a table and chair count as the driver for the parking, but it became awkward for us because people could move furniture in and out, and it was hard to regulate, so we went based on a square foot basis.
They show 12 on the drawing, so.
Yeah, it's really a
12
factor of how
pieces.
small or large the furniture is that they put out there. So they're limited to the 150-foot area, and what they make of it is really largely driven by the furniture size they choose.
You know, are they serving alcohol?
It looks like a pretty
there's
big
a
bar
big-
to me.
It
It's
is.
also-
It is.
There's a big alcohol
I
storage.
believe it's,
too.
yeah, my understanding is beer and wine only, but it is permitted for them to have full service if they choose to.
They should do well with the movie theater right up the street.
Okay. Any other questions or comments?
Nope.
Motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Abstentions? The application is approved unanimously. Next is 891 Old Field Road, coastal site plan application of the Francis Group LLC pertaining to the construction of a two-family dwelling in the B zone.
Okay, this property is on the southerly side of Oakfield Road between Ruane Street and South Pine Creek. There was for many years a two-family house on this site. It was recently demolished. The applicant's looking to build a new two-family dwelling. Typically, that type of development would be an administrative application through the staff. This comes to you as a coastal site plan review because there are certain coastal resources that the state has outlined and identified, and tidal wetlands being one of those. So if there's a proposal within 100 feet of that resource, it comes before you with a coastal site plan. You have in your packet the environmental report from the applicant. You have a referral that we made to the Connecticut Department of Environmental Protection, a response via an email that it was there, finding that they don't find any inconsistencies with the state coastal management policies, as does the staff. Or there's a detailed staff report also in your packet that reaches the same conclusion. This proposed structure meets all the underlying B zone regulations for size and setbacks, and it will be designed to meet all the flood insurance requirements with respect to elevation. But again, it's here before you not as a use permit, but as is there any undue impact on the coastal resources as a result of this proposal? And you have our staff opinion and the opinion of the state DEP that is consistent with the state coastal policies.
And so just to be clear, we really sit in almost an administrative capacity, right?
Correct.
It either complies with the regulations, and they're fairly technical in nature, and so we are guided by, the DEP and staff review, which is why we get such detailed analyses from them on the various criteria under the coastal site plan regulations. With that, can I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion to approve by Commissioner Noonan, second by Commissioner Corcoran. Commissioner Noonan?
Based on staff report and the DEP, that it complies, and we're in administrative capacity, I have my approval based on that.
Thank you. Commissioner Corcoran, anything further?
No.
Very good. Anyone else have any other comments? Motion is to approve. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The application is approved unanimously. And next is public hearing. I hear him lobbying already, right? Call the meeting back to order. This is a public hearing portion of our meeting. Call the first two items together. They're related. 256 Spruce Street, application of Michael Shinella, trustee, to establish a design commercial district on land presently zoned Residence B, continued from 9/26/17, and 256 Spruce Street and 3355-3377 Post Road, application of Michael Shinella, trustee, for expanded off-street parking and seasonal outdoor dining patio in the design commercial district, also continued from 9/26/2017. Attorney Fallon.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the Commission. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm pleased to be here tonight. I especially want to introduce myself to the new commissioners and wish you much enjoyment and success with your new duties. I was much younger when this application began, but through a series of
I think you've had 2 surgeries, too.
yes, actually I've been quite healthy, thank you. But through a series of scheduling, what have yous, and so on, we were actually continued from September 26th. Taking that into consideration, and also the presence of new commissioners who I'm sure have probably familiarized yourself with the September 26th record, I'm not going to repeat the whole presentation. This was continued because we wanted to make sure that the commission had an opportunity to review Mr. Galantes, who's here tonight, his traffic and his parking analysis. But I am going to take a few extra minutes because we've had almost 3 months pass, and we have some new commissioners with us. I should also point out that Mr. Shinella, who's the trustee owner of the property, is here tonight. This property we want to talk about, it was before the commission about 2 years ago, and at that time it was denied without prejudice. The commission at that time indicated that they wanted the applicant to prepare a parking study that would document and confirm the need for the additional parking that really is at the basis of this application. We've done that. Mr. Galante has submitted that report. He'll briefly summarize his findings tonight. But just to reacquaint everybody, let's talk about this parcel. Thanks. The parcel is 7,038 square feet. It's a small parcel. It's located right here. It's located in the Residence B zone, or I should say it is zoned Residence B. But as you can see, it's substantially surrounded by commercial property. Here we have the Dunkin' Donuts Subway property, which is central to the site plan application at 3355 Post Road. Here we have a retail shopping center that has Lucky Thai Kitchen, Vision Center, Toscano's Italian Restaurant, Lowe's Product Hair. Here you have approved 40 years ago under a variance an accountant's office, and here you have People's Bank. Here, of course, you have the Post Road and all the retail activities that we'll talk about that are there. Here you have Spruce Street with residences next door, and we'll talk about those residences as well, and some of those people have spoken for themselves. The parcel is vacant. Before my client bought it in 2014, it was on the market for many, many years. But nobody, quite surprisingly, wanted to buy it for a house. It was zoned residential, but nobody was too crazy about the idea of building a house here next to the accountant's office, Dunkin' Donuts, and this retail place. So the purpose of this application that's before you today, Mr. Shinella is the owner, the trustee owner of both of these parcels, 3377 and 3355. It's our intention, if you'd be good enough, to change the zone of this 7,000 square foot parcel to incorporate approximately 1/2 of each of the parcel to each of the 2 shopping centers, 3377 and 3355. It's our intention, as you know from the site plan application that's in front of you, if you do grant the zone change, to create 18 new on-site parking spaces that would be used on a shared basis in conjunction with these 2 adjacent shopping centers, which are quite busy. The zone change application requires that I talk to you about the plan of conservation and development. First of all, the addition of the 18 new on-street spaces, I think, is greatly going to benefit the interests of public...
Off-street.
Off-street, I'm sorry. Off-street, thank you, spaces.
We are listening.
Huh?
We are listening.
Thank you. And I was, I'm talking, I'm not listening, it doesn't make sense. But obviously, we're trying to deal with an issue here. I think a lot of neighbors on Spruce Street, residential neighbors, have already spoken to this record about favoring this application because it will relieve some of the stress on on-street parking associated with these shopping centers. It's also, as I think you'll hear tonight, and you heard, going to be beneficial to our tenants who value having additional parking on site for the convenience of their customers. The plan of conservation and development basically is dealt with by a number of factors. First of all, we all know, and we've talked about this in prior applications, some recently, that by and large, as a matter of policy and as a matter of what our plan of conservation and development says, we seek to avoid zone changes from residential areas to commercial areas. That's very sound, okay? But there's two things that I would say here. First of all, when you look at the plan of conservation and development with regard to that, it discourages such zone changes, but it doesn't prohibit or suggest that you should ban them. And therefore, you need to look at cases on a case-by-case basis. I would assume in most of those cases, you're going to look and say, no, this is residentially zoned, it's residentially viable, and we don't think we should change the zone, and neither does our plan of conservation and development encourage that. But look at what we have here. Maybe this is a unique situation, and you faced similar unique situations before in this neighborhood with the garlic and herbs application and some others. But look at what I got here without being redundant. I have a little 7,000 square foot parcel of residentially zoned that's basically abutted on both sides by two shopping centers at 3355 and 3377. In fact, the property that was formerly known as 280 Spruce Street was itself approved for a similar zone change by the commission in 2004, and that became part of the parcel that is now 3377. Before my clients owned it, but it shows, I think, at least that there is some consistency, and these comments are again addressed to the zone change aspects of this, and the fact that in this case, there are many factors that the plan of conservation and development would suggest support the goals of the plan by adding this additional on-site parking and dealing with avoidance and congestion and obstruction on the streets, most especially Spruce Street. And as I said before, another reason I think that we're consistent with the plan of conservation and development is confirmed by previous decisions of the commission involving both the Walgreens application, involving the property at 3533 Post Road and 3571 Post Road, and the 886 Kings Highway parcels, in addition to the garlic and herbs application. All of those involve smaller, isolated, residentially zoned portions of property that were adjacent to and frankly integral to the commercial area. Let me talk a minute about the need for the additional parking as we focus back on that. And then I'm going to have Mr. Galanti briefly summarize. The shopping centers located on the Post Road really do need the additional parking. You have in this record letters from many of our tenants who address this application and ask you to support it. Sufficient and convenient parking is essential for any retail operation to be successful. And these properties, our tenants need this additional parking because we are underparked now. And they're competing in a difficult retail environment right now, as many people are. and the addition of parking is very, very important. I would say respectfully, you received a few letters in this record from people opposing this application. And it is easy or easier for people who live on Center Street or have their offices on Pequot Avenue to say to the residents of Spruce Street and the tenants of these shopping centers, you don't need additional parking. Yes, they do. And they're there every day, and they've spoken to that. Thus, the granting of the zone change and the zoning compliance, creating these additional spaces, is going to benefit our tenants, and it's going to benefit the residents of Spruce Street. And that's been documented, I think, for your record very well. And that, in turn, benefits public safety. Let me talk to you a little bit, by way of reminder, about the subway component. I believe the owner of Subway is here tonight and will briefly address the commission. But what's integral here, and this gets really important, I think, this application for a certificate of zoning compliance asks you to approve a small 400 square foot seasonal outdoor dining area to be used by the existing Subway restaurant located on the property. As the owner will tell you, he has made a great commitment to upgrading this Subway location. And I'll let him speak to the matter of the importance of this seasonal outdoor dining amenity in a competitive sense when he speaks. But let me walk you through the numbers. We're proposing, as a result of this zone change, 18 additional parking spaces. The outdoor dining area to be used seasonally, subject to the standard provisions that you would impose, requires 7 spaces. 400 square feet, 7 spaces, because you get the first 150 for free, if you will. The 18 spaces will provide, that we're providing or suggesting that we provide here, will in fact accommodate the required additional parking for the seasonal outdoor dining, no variance. In addition, when we install the outdoor patio as proposed in the site plan, we're going to lose 5 existing spaces. But we're making those up out of the 18. So far the 18 you have 7 and 5. That's 12. The most important thing here, the law says that one of the things that you do as a commission...
Take a step back. What do you mean 7 and 5? 7
spaces are required for the outdoor dining.
But you're losing 5.
And 5 spaces will be lost by building the outdoor dining. So that's 12 spaces that have to be accounted for. The 7 that you need for the seasonal outdoor dining, the 5 that are being lost.
Right.
We're proposing 18.
So a net gain of 6.
Net gain of 6. And why is that important? One of the things the law says that you as a commission should be most focused on doing is eliminating non-conforming uses where and when you have an opportunity to do so. Why is that important? Presently, these centers have 53 parking spaces. By the current, they're non-conforming, they predate. By the current standards of the regulations, 58 parking spaces are required. So this shopping center is presently non-compliant by 5 spaces. We are going to come up, and I get back to my numbers, 7 for the outdoor dining, 5 to replace those lost to create the outdoor dining, still leaving us 6, which will render these parking lots compliant with the current regulations. Mr. Noonan.
I thought you said when the zone, the lot that's presently residential, you were going to split, you're going to have 18, and you're going to split between the 2.
We will, but looking at it holistically, these 2 properties are non-compliant if you take them together. They have 53 spaces, they should have 50.
No, I get that. It's just when you're saying you need 12 for the subway, which would be, I think, 1 shopping center, and then you said we're going to get 18 from this residential,
right.
And we're going to split it, which is 9.
Right.
And I'm not seeing
We're not necessarily have to split them at 9, but what we will do is ensure that there will be a net gain, even after you account for the subway outdoor dining. There'll be a net gain of 6 parking spaces on these sites, which are now combined deficient to the present parking requirements.
Okay, so
by
when
It's
you
all
said
shared,
split,
it's all open.
when you said split, you're not gonna, it's not gonna be equal, it's gonna be probably 12
Yeah, we're
and,
gonna basically consolidate,
six.
because if you go there now, as I know you have, it's kind of an open.
Okay, I just wanna
lot
understand the
area.
numbers.
You're not proposing any signage that restricts parking for,
Absolutely
you know,
not.
1-to-1, you know,
Absolutely.
different.
And that's probably a good segue for me to have Mr. Galante come up here briefly and just kind of overview his findings on the parking, and then I'll be brief in my summation.
Say again.
Doesn't that show the proposed parking that he was just showing?
No, it's green. No, that's,
Does it go all the way back to street present? Is it fence?
yeah, we'll ask him, but I think that's right. Mr. Galante?
Ready for me? Good evening, Mike Galante, Frederick Clark Associates, traffic consultants located here in Fairfield, and you'll see me from time to time. A couple things. We have a report that was dated July of 2017, which I assume it's in your packet. Then there was a follow-up letter dated September 27th, which was the day after the hearing, which was just a clarification on Table 2, that table included the additional parking needed for the outdoor seasonal need or parking, and that's why the numbers didn't match the existing condition versus the future condition. What I'd like to do tonight is not really focus on these charts, but this type of chart is in the report itself. We did actual parking counts and surveys back last April on a Friday and Saturday, obviously the busiest days for retail use like this. Did surveys from 7 a.m. in the morning to 9 p.m. at night. We have lots of graphics that look like this that show you the traffic, the parking patterns and parking demand on an hourly basis for the at least 12 hours or so, 14 hours of time for the 2 different days. And what is really clearer is this table, which was a follow-up shown at the last hearing, and submitted the following day in a letter, which is dated September 27th for your file, which is really a summary of the results of the parking counts and the surveys. The Friday counts are on the top, Saturday on the bottom. This is existing condition from last April. And the peak times were 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 p.m. on Friday. So you have the lunchtime and the dinner time certainly at the peak. And the peak parking demand in percentages, and it's really essentially 31 spaces that are really focused on this use. And I say 31 spaces because the 22 spaces in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot is really separate from the core of the retail space, which is next to that. Then, if you remember, there are 11 spaces within the state right-of-way on Route 1 that look like they're part of this site, but they're actually in the state right-of-way. So we really have 31 spaces that we're focusing on as far as the count that serves this use, this retail use. So we had peak parking demand of 94% and 97% midday and evening on a Friday. On a Saturday condition, 1 o'clock was really the peak on the Saturday lunchtime, which was the parking demand of 110%. And you would say, well, how do you do that? Well, there were 3 cars that were parked not in parking spaces. So that's how you go above a capacity. When you switch to the future condition, and you take into account the 18 spaces that Mr. Fallon referred to, and the loss of 5 spaces for the seasonal outdoor space, seating areas, and the need for 7 more spaces, we now focus on a total of 44 spaces in the future for this core of the retail space. And this table accounts for the parking demand related to the subway expansion, which was the part that wasn't clear, and I didn't make it clear at the first hearing in September. So with the increased parking and the increased parking demand, the peak time periods, 10 a.m., 1 p.m., and 5 p.m. on a Friday, show that the peak parking demand in percentages dropped to 82 and 80%, so it's much lower than in the 90s, which is an existing condition. On a Saturday, we go down to, well, the 10 a.m. is at 59% of occupancy. The 1 o'clock is at 93%, which is the highest time period that we found as far as parking demand. And then the Saturday evening was the 5 o'clock was at 73%. What these tables show is that under existing condition, parking demand is in the 90s. In one case on a Saturday at overcapacity, if you will, at 110%. the proposed 18 spaces, which accommodates current need and current deficiencies, then accommodates the future requested need. Someone getting a text? Not me. The future condition accounts for the need for parking as far as the current use and need and the future. You have a question?
I do.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted
That's okay.
to get your attention for a break. Did your parking study include on-street parking, or was it just the parking in the parking lot?
We counted the on-street parking on Spruce Street, so we would know what was being used, which was basically was fully occupied. But in these calculations, it's not included.
Okay.
Okay?
So,
Because we can't really account for that parking on Spruce Street.
It was just, because
Even
we
though
don't
it's
know
being
whether
used.
those cars are parked there for the residential
It could
or
be
for
off or
the
across the
commercial,
street.
whatever. So they were just looking at internal on the parking
On the
lot.
site itself.
so those,
Were there enough spaces for the cars that wanted to park there?
but
so it's
those
on-site.
tables are for the parking lots themselves?
Yes,
Okay.
on-site parking.
And you said you included the on-street parking for what? Or did you?
On Spruce Street, we did the count of what was being used there as far as parking demand.
Okay.
Just so we would know what that parking demand was.
Okay.
But it's not accounted for in the
not-
calculations.
okay, thank you.
This is strictly on-site parking, Table 1 and Table 2, that you're looking at tonight.
Did you ever find that the parking on Spruce Street was all full?
Pretty much. And the cars pretty much sat there all day.
Any idea if they were residential or if they were built?
We don't know.
Okay.
I would guess it's a combination, and I'm sure some of it's related to the commercial, whether it's on our site or across the street. I think it's a Verizon store now, which opened several months ago.
Is there on-street parking on Post?
I'm sorry?
No, well, there's parking in the right-of-way immediately in front of the commercial
There are
strip.
11 angled
That's
spaces.
on Post Road.
Yeah,
That's
no, I
actually in the
understand.
right-of-way that could
Yeah.
really disappear tomorrow. If the state was to decide to put
No,
curbing
understood,
in,
yeah, thank you.
for example. So in summary, so I was told to keep it brief, under an hour or so, these two tables kind of refer to current parking demand and need, which shows that it's reached capacity, and on Saturday at lunchtime, over capacity. And then with the future condition, it shows that we bring that percentage down to a much more reasonable condition, and that's really supporting why we need the additional 18 spaces. And I'll stop there and answer any questions you may have.
Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Galante?
Mr. Galante will be here throughout the proceeding if something comes to your mind.
Question?
Yes, I have a question. The color map that you provide in your traffic study looks like a residential property, a house.
Are you looking at this one?
Yes.
Yep.
Number next to the right of number 12, is that an existing house?
This here?
Yes.
That is the site, this photo included the house that was demolished, if I'm looking at this correctly.
So this is
It's
an
a vacant
older-
lot today. It's
this
been
is an
vacant for a
older
couple of
picture?
years. Yeah, I don't know the date of the picture, but
Okay.
that's the house that was on the property
That
at least
we're
a
talking
couple
about.
years ago, that we're referring to tonight, yes.
Okay.
Good reference.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Just a couple of comments about the site plan itself that we also think are beneficial. Where obviously, the site plan shows a new fence to be installed matching the existing one along the southerly boundary. We're going to extend and continue the existing 6-foot-high fence, which is presently located on Spruce Street at the rear of the existing shopping center. This was very important to us and to our neighbors. We're going to eliminate the existing curb cut and driveway entrance on Spruce Street and thereby close 256 entirely from ingress and egress to and from Spruce Street. Right now, this parcel is accessible to and from Spruce Street. If you approve this zone change in the site plan, it no longer will be. The only means of access of the 18 new parking spaces that we propose would be from the existing parking lots located on the Post Road, and there will be no curb cuts on Spruce Street. We're going to retain the existing, if you've been out there, 6-foot-high boxwood hedges, and we'll fill in all empty spaces with mature privet hedges of approximately 8 feet in height that'll further buffer the existing centers from Spruce Street. That planning plan also calls for the replacement of 5 or 6 dead pines along the southerly boundary of Spruce Street with new ones of approximately 8 to 10 feet in height. So the win-win here, not to speak for the residents of Spruce Street who have spoken for themselves, I think, pretty much, but, you know, is not only the, some relief of the on-street parking situation, but real significant improvements to the aesthetics and the buffering of the existing commercial activities that they abut. This, in conclusion, let me just talk about a few things that often come up. First of all, I reaffirm, I understand that zone changes from meaningfully zoned residential property to commercial should be discouraged, and they are. But there are times like this, and Walgreens, and garlic and herbs, where good planning and the passage of time warrant the exercise of your statutory authority to change the zone. And you have also, in this record, the report and mapping from Mr. Casado, the architect, which confirms that the change of zone will not result in the possibility of any enlargement of any existing buildings on the site without obtaining variances, and that, of course, would have a very detrimental impact on our existing parking and would result in the elimination of the drive-through, which is a particularly important element here. So even if the existing buildings were demolished, Mr. Casado's report confirms that the only thing you could get would be a compliant building of 7,930 square feet, notwithstanding the zone change of this small area that we asked you to make. So the bottom line is that the granting of the zone change is not going to result in some feasibility to intensify the utilization of the property. I don't want to be redundant, so I'm just going through this a little bit. I think the most important thing here is, too, that, well, once we change the zone is changed forever. But as I've said in my prior presentation, we know what we're going to use this for, but any change in the use of this property, once you change the zone, is going to be subject to your jurisdiction and review with a special permit and site plan review application. So there's nothing that's ever going to get done on this property that you will not have control of. But in this case, you know, the real fundamental thing here is we are taking a situation with regard to need for additional parking. That will benefit our tenants, it'll benefit our residential neighbors. We're trying to address and upgrade not only the parking, but the aesthetics of the center. And in doing that, we think we are acting consistently with the plan of conservation and development. The closing off of this area in terms of ingress and egress for commercial purposes of Spruce Street is, I think, a very big deal. And we hope we have documented to you appropriately with this application, as you asked us to do when you denied without prejudice the first application, the fact that we do have a documentable need here for this additional parking. And although 18 spaces doesn't sound like a lot, in the context of these retail establishments, it is. And when it's all said and done, you'll not only be benefiting Subway, which is an important anchor in this area, but notwithstanding their needs, we'll still be rendering this entire commercial complex conforming to your current parking requirements for the first time. So I'd be pleased to answer any questions that you might have. Oh, and I said before that, you know, we've been extended here. I just want this record to indicate and make clear that we have previously provided to the staff through letters, emails, and what have you, extensions as provided for under the statute so as to get us to the hearing tonight. So I just want to make that clear for the record. Great. That the applicant has granted those extensions.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Francis?
Are there any parking lots on Spruce Street, sidewalks on Spruce Street, or just?
Sidewalks on
Side.
Spruce Street? I don't believe there are. No.
Are we happy about that?
Doesn't look like it.
Well, that's another reason, if I might say, why closing off the Spruce Street conclusively from any commercial activity associated with these centers is positive.
Yeah, it is positive that there's no egress, but usually we like sidewalks on everything we approve.
Well, we require sidewalks for subdivisions and the like.
Right.
I couldn't speak to that. I mean, I don't think, again, I mean to speak for the neighbors, I don't think they perceive the need for sidewalks. But I do think the absence of sidewalks makes even more beneficial the closing off of this retail center for any purposes to and from Spruce Street.
Are there any other questions for Mr.
Yeah,
Fallon?
Chairman.
Yep, Commissioner.
Attorney Fallon, just to clarify, this plan we're looking at now shows the new parking lot, right? 'Cause-
Correct. Well,
yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just so,
I mean, it
is that
shows-
that
it
empty
shows the
lot?
area.
That- Well, yeah, but that green space is actually gonna stay there. That's a different lot altogether.
It shows.
Where your hand is right now is the new parking, correct? Yes. Just because it looked like you were saying you're adding to what's there,
No.
but just to be clear, okay.
Commissioner Levy.
Could you consider any sort of pedestrian access through the property because, of course, let's say someone from Spruce Street wants to go walk through the back, get a donut or a
That came up the last time. I
Yeah, it
think.
did, it did.
I think that came up the last
I forget
time.
what we
And I
said.
forget who brought it, might have been Commissioner Cochran, yes. And I think what we said there is if the commission found that to be desirable, then that would certainly be a condition of approval, no objection to a break in the fence or something. I mean, we haven't proposed it, but we have no objection to it.
Okay. Very good.
And all of the access from the old post road is going to maintain, each one is going to be two-way?
Yes, we're not changing anything to
None
do
of
with
that's
that.
changing.
The only thing it's going to be doing is eliminated any ingress and egress to and from Spruce Street.
Anyone else? Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr.
Thank you
Fallon.
very, very much.
Okay. So now is the public comment portion. Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? Please, come on up. Take the mic.
Good evening, Chairman Wagner, members of the Commission, Director Wendt, and Enforcement Officer Decker. Michael Hurley, RTM District 10, Southport. I rise tonight to speak in favor of these applications for 256 Spruce Street. Over the past several months, I've been working very closely with our police department, the first selectman, his office, our town engineer, our town planning director, and economic development director, Mark Barnhart, on the plethora of traffic and parking issues on Post Road, Southport, and particularly a certain establishment on the corner of Mills Highway and Post Road. I get emails all the time, being a member of the RTM, and I would say probably 90% of them deal with the public's frustration with all the traffic and parking issues. The town has come up with some solutions in the area. There's no easy solutions. Back in September, we had a conference call with the aforementioned parties, and we were talking about specifically the parking and the traffic, and we all acknowledged that, given how Southport and Post Road is laid out, absent really bulldozing the whole area and starting over again, there are no easy solutions. There's no perfect solutions. We spoke about this specific application at the time, and I think to all of us it made sense. In our discussions, the first selectman did ask me to come to the next public hearing on this matter and share my perspective, given all the detailed knowledge that I have. Back on September 26th, the night of, I guess, your last hearing, we had a community neighborhood meeting at Mill Hill School where we talked about all of these issues, and I do intend to take up Chairman Wagner on his offer to attend our next meeting because there are a lot of questions about TP and Z issues. We did bring up this specific applications in the audience. We probably had maybe 75 or 80 people. It was particularly well attended. It was moderated by myself, Lieutenant Calamaris, and Mark Barnhart, our Economic Development Director. There were essentially no objections to this application when we were talking about expanding the number of parking spots on Post Road. I know the net isn't that significant, but to anyone who lives, does business, or works in the area, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parking spots additional do matter, and matter an awful lot.
Yeah, so we normally don't engage with, public comment, but as the RTM member here, engaging with us on behalf of your constituents, was it,
honored.
was it clear at the meeting that the application involved rezoning a residential parcel to commercial in order to create the new parking spaces?
During the meeting, I did mention that there was a house there, and that the property no longer has a house on that property, and it was going to be changed so that there could be commercial parking.
Mm-hmm.
Did I articulate it as clearly as the chairman of TP&Z? No, but I do think that most people understood, and I also...
That's what I'm
Yeah, I
driving
think
at.
so, and I also sent out an email today. I have a neighborhood email list. I think I have about, maybe 325
You do
families.
a great job with
Well,
communications.
Thank you. And I didn't hear, I said I was coming here tonight, just following up on our last, neighborhood meeting, to speak in favor of this application, to try and just reduce a little bit of the pressure in the area. I think I got 2 emails saying, great, keep us posted, no objections, and people generally, I like to think, do read my emails.
No, that's helpful. I appreciate the feedback.
If there's any other questions, I'd be happy to.
Anyone else have any other questions? No?
Well,
That's great.
congratulations on everybody's elections, and happy holidays.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Good evening, Jack Imes, 51 Spruce Street, Southport. On behalf of the membership of the Sasquatch Village Improvement Association of Southport and our 100-plus households in Southport, we oppose this zone change request in keeping with the guidelines of the current town plan of conservation and development. And we urge the commission to also oppose this further encroachment of commerce into a residential zone. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
My name is George Russell. I am the president of the Sasquatch Association of Southport Improvement, but I'm not here speaking on behalf of them tonight, but on behalf of myself. I think this is the 3rd time in recent history that this application for a zone change has come before you, for this board. I submitted a letter last time to the commission regarding this application, and that stands for itself, but I'm speaking tonight to respond to actually watching the video. I couldn't be here last time, but watching Attorney Fallon's presentation, that's what I'm responding to tonight. A zone change from commercial to residential is something that should not be taken lightly. It's a significant decision, and just driving here tonight, I left my house at 21 Kings Drive, 21 Oxford Place, I'm sorry, and drove by this site, and I saw probably 4 cars in the lot tonight on my way here. When I think about this, when I watched Attorney Fallon and the video last time, it upset me. It was kind of like a chicken or an egg thing. It's like, should the use define the zoning, or should the zoning define the use? Here we have, these plans for this great new subway with outdoor dining and delivery cars and stuff, which would certainly take up additional parking spaces in the existing space. Should that define our need to change the zoning on this residential lot next door? We need affordable housing. I mean, I grew up in Southport. My best friend as a child lived in the house at this very lot. Right there, I used to have sleepovers there at his house. They lived there. They could poo-poo, say, oh, who would want to live there? But I'll tell you that they're putting up new condos and townhouses in Southport in parts that folks like my parents would never have thought of, that people would pay this amount to live there, but it's a convenience, and people now want to live near
the train and near the highway. These are desirable places. You would think that they were, you know, in that time they were blue collar residential places, but but they allowed people like that to live in this town and to make friends with like folks like myself. So I really have a problem with the zone change. You know, we need the affordable housing, the whole Bronson Road thing, you know all about that. But, you know, the plan of conservation and development was developed with that notion in mind, that Southport is this mix of, you know, estate kind of homes, regular kind of homes. I mean, I live in a regular little Cape Cod on Oxford Place, you know, it's not a mansion, you know, and so that's the mix that makes Southport what it is, and that's why the plan is what it is. So I think that, you know, who's really benefiting from this zoning change? I don't think it's the public. I think that land is more valuable as a affordable residential place than it is a commercial parking lot. And I know developers who would be willing to develop a townhouse there that could be sold to somebody who maybe works right there at one of these businesses who might be able to not have to commute and park right there. You know, and the bottom line is, even if they change it to a parking lot, it's not going to change what's happening on Spruce Street. They're still going to park there. You know, it really only benefits one person. It's the developer, and they could say, "Oh, we're not going to blow it up and make it some big thing." I never said that. Who said that? They're talking about that. So what I'm saying is, the zone change is a big change, and it shouldn't be taken lightly. And I think that the only person that would benefit by this is the developer. And you know, it's unfortunate what I see now. Like I said, I live on Oxford Place. I come up Oxford Road every way on my way to work to Pequot Avenue, and there's 20 cars there parked in that Walgreens lot that I don't even know if that's legal. But where would these people be anyways? Maybe, you know, they're going to go park on Spruce Street when something goes there. I mean, we got to be careful here what we're doing. We got to think of the future. We got to be smart about what we're doing. And I think that this is not, the only person that this is benefiting is the developer, and I think we should be denied. I thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other members of the public wish to be heard on this item?
Hello. I was here the last time, and remember, I think many of you, I'll thank you ahead of time for taking a few minutes to listen to me. My name is Al Sabloy. I am the owner of the subway that's there. Myself and my partner bought the subway in August of this year. We own 7 subways altogether. And I thought, given my comments, it might be helpful to maybe go through a couple different categories just to put perspective, because I think it's good to understand what someone's trying to accomplish. We plan on benefiting clearly and having the town benefit and having the community benefit from the additional parking, but I want to go through with you why, because I think it always makes sense to have some basis for what people are trying to accomplish.
So I'm sorry to interrupt you. It's me. Just a point of clarification. Are you the applicant in the companion? No.
No.
Here's a member of the public. But
Correct.
The operator of the subway.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we bought the subway in August.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
You're welcome. I thought I would do a couple things here if I can. First of all, just real quick, a little bit about me, just so you get a perspective. Then I want to, real quick on the market. I think it's good to understand that. And then I want to get into the subway and what our plans are, and I'll be fairly quick. Last time we talked about a couple things. I'll also give you a quick update on some of the things we chatted about the last time. A little bit about me. I'm an entrepreneurial business type, but I've lived in the state of Connecticut my entire life. Built software technology companies, built a very large company that's on I-95 called Tango. We got to a couple thousand people. I'm currently building an energy management firm along with the subway, and we are actually implementing many energy management efficiencies within the subway. Our plan right now is to drive the cost down as well as the carbon footprint by about 30%, which is actually fairly meaningful when you think of all the cooking devices that are within the fast food industry, we think we'll do good for the public, we'll do good for everybody. So we're investing pretty heavily in that. That's my perspective. A little bit about the fast food market. The fast food market today struggles a little bit. That Subway there does not make money. I told you that the last time. And we have some plans so that at least it can make money and succeed while also benefiting and obviously providing the community a good, healthy, clean place to eat. So that's important to understand. Couple things worth talking about with our plans. The Francesco dining is important to us. The town, there are other places that have it. It's a great location when people drive by, so that will be meaningful for our business to get it to a point where we can at least be a good, sustainable company. So that's important. Second thing, we are innovating within Subway all over the country. We're probably in the lead on this, on changing the way that food is delivered. And last time I talked a little bit about a special smart car. You may remember. If you do drive by, you'll see it there. Since our last meeting, we bought a smart car, we wrapped it up, and we are beginning the process of delivering, but we want to change the way deliveries are actually done in the marketplace. We want to create almost a recurring favorite delivery model where you don't have to do it transactional like Uber Eats as an example. So we plan on doing that, and that will be our ground zero location to innovate towards that objective. I tell you that because that smart car is sitting in one of those spaces right now. And if it goes incredibly well, there's a chance we may do another smart car and have actually two. But when our delivery business goes up along with Francesco Dining, we also are going to have a few more employees. So we're going to need places for our employees to obviously park, given the expansion that we're planning there. All that is very important. We've invested heavily in the shop itself. If you go in, you'll notice that we've added some music technology. We are on the lead within Subway itself, testing some of the technologies right here in Southport is where some of the newer technologies are going. Subway has some interest in investing internally as well. We're talking about, we put all brand new LED lights, if you check that out. We also implemented a special barcode system that allows food delivery to be quicker, on time, etc. So we're putting an awful lot of emphasis and focus, obviously, on the shop itself. The Francesco Dining is all part of that expansion strategy for us. But again, the practical part on the parking, and I fully understand if you go there sometimes 9 o'clock at night, you might not see a full parking lot. It's not the busiest time, obviously, for Subway. We tend to be busy, obviously, in a bell curve through different times during the day. And obviously traffic studies can try to accommodate that. So I really, we obviously support the change. I just wanted to give all of you a perspective of what we're trying to accomplish. We're doing some special things at the Subway in town. Just to give you an example, we had the CEO of Subway visit that shop about 4 weeks ago. She drove up with her car. She spent about an hour and a half in the shop, really being able to touch and feel some of the special things that we're actually doing. So it's more than just the Subway, and there's 28,000 of them. It's one of the Subways that corporate headquarters has a lot of visibility to as well, that we obviously take seriously as we build up the business, and we also improve the experience, obviously, for our customers. So I just wanted to give you a couple quick comments on that. I'm wide open for questions if you guys have any for me.
No, we appreciate that. We typically don't engage in, like I mentioned, the questions and answers with members of the public.
Okay, I'm new at this part, so.
No problem.
Good, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public wish to be heard on this item? These items, I should say.
Very quickly, if I could just address a couple of the comments by way of conclusion. With all due respect to the speaker, opposition to encroachment, that's, again, theoretically an important thing. You stand as the protector of residential neighborhoods. I've been doing this 40 years, I get it. That's one of your main functions. This is not encroachment, okay? First of all, you have the responsive support, as Michael made clear, of neighbors who live, the residential neighbors who live here. They see the proposed rezoning as a positive thing, both as it relates to the matter of on-street parking and also the benefits of the site plan should you be good enough to approve it. You cannot if the legislature didn't want to have you to have the right to change a zone from time to time, even if that zone's residential, they could preclude it. And by and large, as I said at the outset, you need to be, as was said by George, take that responsibility very seriously. Don't take it lightly, as he said. I understand that. But there are situations like the one in front of you tonight, like Garlic and Herbs, like Walgreens, all those properties in the immediate past, in this immediate neighborhood, where you could look at a situation and say that this is simply a matter of an adjustment to the zone map that's appropriate based upon changing conditions and circumstances. And that's what the Plan of Conservation and Development tells you to do. There are many things in the Plan of Conservation and Development, which, by the way, as I said, doesn't ban these types of zone changes, discourages them in most cases, but doesn't do that. But here, you're adding further on-street, off-street parking to the much-needed shopping center and its tenants. You're removing on-street parking from Spruce Street. You're making the existing center more conforming and eliminating the nonconformity, and you are protecting the neighbors of Spruce Street by way of eliminating any ingress and egress from this commercial activity to their street with a very substantial buffer. Those are all things that really belie, with all due respect to my friend George, the comment that the only person who benefits here is the developer. The developer benefits, his tenants benefit, the customers of the tenants benefit, and the residents of Spruce Street, and maybe more broadly, residents of Southport who are grappling with on-street parking issues benefit as well. So you've been very patient with me, and we appreciate that, and we hope that in your deliberations you'll carefully consider this and approve it. We do think it's a good application for this neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Francis?
Attorney Fallon, are they having the trees in between every 10 parking spaces?
Shade trees in the parking lot.
I believe we have a landscape plan, correct? If we don't, we'll have to give it to you, because we'll have to give you two.
Yeah, because I'm sure you're aware we passed the regulation a couple of years ago, every 10 spaces.
I believe Mr. Wendt is looking for that now. I recall seeing a landscaping plan.
I believe it's there, but I can say in the interest of time, if it's not, then a condition of approval would be, 18 rounded up. We'd have to provide 2 shade trees, and I'm sure we could do that without jeopardizing the number of spaces we're adding.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Fallon? Okay. Thank you very much. Close the public hearing on these 2 items, C1 and 2. Next is 569 Commerce Drive, special exception application of CLS Investments, Inc. for a used car dealership in conjunction with an existing livery business in the Design Industrial District.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Jeff Serlin. I'm the owner of CLS Investments, which owns 569 Commerce Drive in Fairfield. I'm also the owner of Serlin International Limousine and Red Dot Airport Shuttle, which is the leasee on that property. We are asking for this dealership license, which we've had for maybe 25 years prior to now, to buy and sell cars for our fleet in the livery business, not to sell to the public. If you know our lot, we're set back from the road. We have a right-of-way through 575 Commerce Drive. It's not a place to sell used vehicles to the public, if that's what the concern is. Although, as we know, Commerce Drive is the car-selling capital of Fairfield County. I don't know what else you'd like to know. We maintain this license, I will repeat, for at least 20 years prior to our move to Fairfield just a couple years ago.
Very good. Thank you very much. Does anyone else, and I appreciate the brevity. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Serlin? Yes.
Just looking at the map we have, how does Commerce Drive fit into it? I mean, I only see Black Rock Turnpike listed here.
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Yeah, we come in right here. There's no, this is inclined here.
And what are the businesses here?
So now that you've done that, I think it's best if you go back to the microphone, just so that there's a clear record. Thank you.
Directly in front of us, Land Rover stores cars there, and there's Dastani Painting on the corner of Black Rock and Commerce, which butts our property, and the railroad track is on the back side.
Excellent. Does anyone else have any questions? Okay. Well, thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you. Does any member of the public wish to be heard on this item? Okay, with that, I'll close the public hearing. Next is 1073 North Benson Road, special exception application of Fairfield University pertaining to the construction of a new academic building in the AA zone. Oh, sorry, didn't mean to do that. I got a little carried away.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I did hear the chair's compliment of the previous speaker about brevity.
That wasn't lost on you?
No, I heard that, so I'll see if I can do a little better this time. I'm proud to be here representing Fairfield University, my alma mater. We're seeking special exception approval with regard to our plans to construct a new and beautiful world-class academic building, and that will be the new home of the Charles F. Dolan School of Business. Obviously, this particular use and the entire university is a permitted use subject to special exception review pursuant to section 5.1.4D of the regulations. We're working around me here. I'll let Emily get that up there. Yes, that would be a lovely one to put up. Thank you, Emily. If I could just say a few words about the Dolan School of Business. For those of you not familiar with it, it is a nationally ranked program, and the new building is going to provide facilities, as you'll see, that are consistent with the strong national reputation we have. The school is actually one of the highest ranking business schools in the country, and it's been named one of the best undergraduate business schools in the United States by both Bloomberg Business News and U.S. News and World Report. What we're doing here, and we come to you hopefully fruition tonight, it was initiated as part of the university's master plan in order to ensure that the School of Business and the university in general maintain the very strong and renowned national reputation we've grown to enjoy for excellence with regard to both our programs and our facilities. As you'll hear in a minute from my colleague Richard Polvino, the architect from SLAM Collaborative, the building that you're looking at here is situated very much centrally in the campus. It's 86,243 square feet, and among other amenities, it's going to feature 12 technology-enriched classrooms, collaborative meeting spaces for students and faculty, and a new event space. Before I talk about the procedural history of this application involving the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Inland Wetlands Agency, I would like to call on Richard, who will give you a brief overview of the exterior architectural design and our floor plan.
This is Richard Polvino with the SLAM Collaborative Architects. So we presented this project a little while ago, a couple months ago, but as far as the project, John mentioned, it's about 86,000 square feet central to the campus. As far as materials, very contemporary and consistent with the existing buildings that are on campus. So we're talking brick, glass and curtain wall, some stone, and some metal panels. John also mentioned that the location, as far as location, so north is up on this plan, and it's also in the plans there, that the location is within the campus itself, within the proper. It's not a perimeter roads along Barlow or Benson, North Benson. It's very contiguous within the campus context. It is a 3- and 4-story building. The site is sloped considerably in this location. So from the southern exposure You have roughly a four-story looking building. From the northern exposure, you have roughly a three-story looking building. So with that, to talk about the microsite, or the site in a micro sense, closer to the kind of blow-up. I'll have Emily Wright, a landscape architect with the SLAM Collaborative, explain.
Hi, good evening. So the primary route that most people will take into the new Dolan School of Business is from the north. Most pedestrians will be students living on campus. They will make their way into the business school from the north. The other primary entrance to the building is to the south, and those folks will be coming from this main parking lot. In terms of parking, the south parking lot has 62 spaces, and there are 13 trees associated with that parking lot. The northern parking lot includes 56 spaces, and there are 13 trees associated with that parking lot. The service area is located in this portion of the building, along with mechanical equipment and dumpsters. And accessible parking is located near this south entry, and there are 7 spaces. And as you can see, we've incorporated a number of trees with the parking lot, and the central green space of the parking lot is a bioretention basin for stormwater infiltration.
Just to reiterate the location of the building, we did a series of site angle analysis from all the roads and the perspectives between the topography, the landscape, and the limited height of the building. No one can see the building from outside the property line. And also, just to reiterate some of the inside, John did mention, it's essentially a classroom and office building. So floors, the lower level, first and second, are primarily teaching spaces, 21st century learning, student spaces, faculty spaces, and the third floor houses approximately 71 offices for faculty and staff.
Just procedural matters, if I might. We did receive from the Zoning Board of Appeals in September of this year unanimous approval of a variance of section 5.2.2 of the regulations to allow an increase in the allowable height of this building from the current regulations permitted 40 feet to 53 feet. The board found that the change by way of an amendment to the zoning regulations in 1989, which changed what was the permitted height for a special exception use in the zone from 60 feet to 40 feet, created hardship. They also took cognizance of the fact that a most substantial portion of the campus has been previously constructed in compliance with either those existing regulations or previous variances granted. So the quad dormitories are all in the neighborhood of 55, 58, 56 feet. And as is the school library, received a variance for height in 1999, the Banno Science Center, which is relatively close by here, in 2000, the prep school addition in 2002, and indeed the new residence hall in 2008 in School of Nursing. So basically they found that and considering the central location of this building, that the height was consistent with other buildings in the area and wouldn't have any adverse off-site impact, and will really fit in well in terms of the whole tableau of the campus. We also had a code enforcement review meeting on September 19. All of the code comments have been complied with. Particularly, I know you have an email from Laura Pooley of engineering on November 28, which confirms that all of her comments have been addressed. We did receive a unanimous approval in November of this year from the Inland Wetlands Agency. That was Inland Wetlands Permit 2017-1805. There are numerous environmental benefits to this proposal, which I haven't detailed tonight, involving additional conservation easements, restoration of meadow areas, and overall it was a very strong application from the Commission's position or consideration environmentally. So, by way of summary, we've attempted to design a very sensitive, architecturally designed building to ensure that it's attractive, exciting, and yet harmonizes with the existing building and in character with the campus overall. It's not going to have any off-site impact, but we welcome people to come and enjoy its beauty and function when it is construction. Most importantly for us, it will exemplify what the School of Business, the Dolan School of Business, has become, which is a leading center for business education in the country, and will ensure that consistent and growing reputation for excellence is going to be maintained for many decades and be housed in a facility appropriate to that reputation. So we'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have, and I hope we will.
Yep, thank you very much. So, I do have a few things, and I'd like to just go through some of the code enforcement issues. And the first thing that struck me is there's no data accumulation plan, or at least I didn't find one in the plans.
Mr. Jobs is here. It should be on the site plan, Mr. Jobs indicates. I remember seeing it.
I looked at all the sheets. I was just, you might have noticed, kind of flipping through all this.
C1 is maybe not so good, but C1 on this side.
C1?
It's tight to the building
Down there. Okay. So, one of the other questions was about parking. And notably, there's no set requirement, right?
Yeah, we're actually adding parking as a result of this application. I think Emily touched on that, but I believe our total parking...
So small, I can't read that. Wow. So one of the questions was in terms of the students, how many students would be attending in day and night, capacity of the building, that kind of thing? Can you just talk for a moment about that, what your anticipation is with respect to parking demand and the adequacy of the lots?
Yeah, I'd start off by saying that we're actually increasing parking as a result of this in this very area by 27 spaces. There are currently 91 spaces that are in close proximity to this site. At the end of our construction, there'll be 118, so we're adding 27 spaces to the existing. This building isn't going to change the operational patterns of the School of Business. The School of Business exists. We're just moving it to a better facility. This application doesn't involve any expansion of the School of Business in terms of its enrollment, so that I would say to you that with regard to the undergraduate aspects of the academic programs, as is the case now, those students will generally walk to classes to the extent that there may be few, and it's a dwindling number, of off-campus students who live off campus. We'll have 128 parking spaces very proximate there. In the evening, the School of Business does operate classes in the evening, but those spaces that we have available and will be adding to based upon our experience, because we're not changing the nature of our evening courses, will be more than sufficient to handle the parking requirements associated with our evening programs.
All right, thank you. So just walk through with me a little bit on the code. Sure, Commissioner Francis. Yes.
I'm sorry?
That you're referring to that exists, did you say 91 spaces or 61 or something?
The existing spaces I referred to are 91.
And across from Quick?
Generally correct, yes. Behind Quick.
Oh, the one behind, okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Okay. Any other questions about parking? Great. Fire? Did the fire chief review the plans?
Absolutely. We had a complete review. Mr. Ferentz attended the code minutes, as you know, on page 2.
Yep.
And his comments have been taken into consideration. We also met with him, I think subsequently to that, with regard to comment number 5, to make sure that the hydrant was installed to his satisfaction.
And so he signed off on that?
To the best of my knowledge, yes.
Okay. Police raised concern about lighting in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Is there a lighting plan?
There is a lighting plan, and it's the typical kind of lighting that we didn't frankly understand the police comment particularly because we did submit a lighting plan. I think it was part of the code notes. It's a lighting plan that deals appropriately with, safety and pedestrian safety, and at the same time is understated in terms of the type of fixtures we're using. But yes, we have a lighting plan, and
Yep.
yes, the parking area will be appropriately and adequately lighted.
Yeah. So were these the plans that the police reviewed?
To the best of my knowledge.
Yeah. Is there?
Average foot candles across the parking lot and all of the pedestrian walkways is 1 foot candle.
One.
And generally, 0.2 is a minimum standard for safety, so we are seeing minimum safety.
Thank you. Just a couple more. Just want to make sure. Guardrail engineering, guardrails to be installed.
Yeah, you have Laura Pooley's email on November 28th, and
Yep.
we've covered that to her satisfaction.
Okay. And the retaining walls, I didn't see those. I didn't look very hard, but
And this is her comment?
yeah.
Which comment is that?
Number 4.
On engineering?
Yeah. No, TPZ.
Oh, TPZ.
And I just was a little bit confused. To be fair, I didn't look very hard for those.
Yeah, I don't think, the comment, if anyone can help me on that, is retaining walls should provide toe and bow elevations.
Top of the wall, bottom of the wall.
Okay, good. See, I've been doing this, how long? Tonight I go home and tell my wife and say, I learned about toe and bow.
They are.
Mr. Jobs, our engineer, represents they are on the updated plans.
Okay, that's good. Does Mr. Jobs call, can you direct me to where in the plans approximately, if he or maybe Jim? C2, thank you. I'll look at them offline. Thank you. Excellent. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Does anyone else?
I have one minor.
Yes, Commissioner Macklin.
I think I answered this myself, but it looks like all the mechanicals are on the roof, nothing on the ground, right?
Correct. Richard, could you come to the
They-
microphone and just address that?
Just state your name.
Rick Palvino with
Thank you.
SLM Collaborative. If I can refer to this rendering here. So what you see here is a mechanical screen, so air handling units, 5 air handling units will be on the roof.
Yep.
Shielded with the screen, and there'll be one chiller at grade, right here on the lower level by the service yard.
Okay.
Actually, you can see it right here,
Right, okay.
but that's it.
All right, great, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Thank you for screening it all, so we
Commissioner
didn't have to
Francis?
ask you to.
No? Okay. Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Bell.
Happy holiday to everybody.
Yep.
We'll see you after the New Year.
Any members of the public wish to be heard on this? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Thank you very much. I'm Bob Rogers. I live at 20 College Park Drive. Congratulations to the university on, a great plan going forward. I do have one question or a couple of questions with regards to during construction, obviously, there's going to be excavation necessary, and I'd like to know from the university where they temporarily expect to store the extracted soil, whether there'll be any crushing equipment, screening equipment, etc., so that we don't have a repeat of the misunderstanding that we had with the Carroll Field, which was basically used as a staging area when the parking garage was during construction.
Yeah. What was the issue?
The issue was that essentially Carroll Field turned into a dumping ground for the, all of the excavated soil, and that the thing basically reached 2.5 stories above where it was, and they put effectively screening and crushing equipment on it. So they operated that fully for over a year.
Thank you very much. Any other members of the public wish to be heard? I don't know that there are any left in the room, but, so, Mr. Fallon, this was actually item number 3 of the town plan and zoning, the notes. Erosion and sedimentation plan is provided, but a stockpile area for excavated materials needs to be shown, and a construction sequencing narrative should be provided.
Correct. I can assure Mr. Rogers that we're cognizant of the sensitivity with regard to that. We were pleased that we were able to work that out. We know the neighbors, it was a matter of concern. We're pleased it was restored in the manner that it was, and life is back to normal. There'll be no crushing or screening. That's not permitted under your regs on the site. Our present plan is any excess fill, because we'll certainly be netting and cutting and balancing, but any excess fill we will remove from the campus, remove off-site. If we determine during the course of construction that there might be appropriate place to dispose of some of that fill on a temporary basis, number one, I can assure Mr. Rogers it'll be nowhere near the Carroll Road area, and number 2, we would not undertake that without making an appropriate application to the Conservation Commission and this agency.
Right, I mean, we do have regulations that require prior approval with respect to the excavation and, of X number of cubic yards or whatever it is.
So we're not planning now of stockpiling excess fill on the campus.
Okay.
And were that to change, we would have to address that through appropriate approval requests.
Was there submitted a revision to the erosion and sedimentation plan as requested in item number 3?
Yes, I believe there was. Yes, Mr. Jobe says there was.
Good, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you. Any other final questions? We're all set? Very good. Thank you very much, Mr. Fallon. Close the public hearing. I'll adjourn the meeting.